Are you ready?
100%. Let's do it.
You get like a rock star clap when you come in. I need that. I need to get that.
Benjamin effect.
Yeah, come on. Come on.
Benjamin, you announced a lot of things yesterday, and in this panel, we will focus on Metaverse. You are not alone. Herman, thank you for your time. Thanks for joining. And for start this panel, I propose you to talk a bit more about your activity, your enterprise, but also your past. Can you give us a bit more detail?
Sure. I mean, Improbable today, a little bit of background. We're the world-leading provider by the numbers of multiplayer expertise into about 60 different publishers. So we work on every major shooter franchise. We built Fall Guys, the multiplayer mode, if you guys played that. Recently, Gotham Knights, Modern Warfare 2. You can see us in the credits, kind of buried in there. And we spent the last 10 years learning everything we could about how to build difficult-to-create, complex virtual worlds. And if you look right now at the Metaverse space, it's all hype and no substance. You know, there's very little credible, tangible, good experiences people want to be part of. And so our focus has been, how do we break that? How do we create really valuable experiences? And one of the things we've been able to do, which hopefully you saw in the trailer yesterday, is allow environments which can support 20,000 people, all in the same space, all speaking at the same time, all interacting with presenters and performers. And just like, you know, in the blockchain space, you think about transactions a second, we've been focusing on operations per second. And today, Improbable can do like 10 billion operations a second, I think is the latest thing, which is nice.
Not bad, not bad.
But our big focus, and this is what Benjamin and me kind of fell in love on a little bit, is how do we go beyond technology to something that unlocks the massive creative potential of the space? And so we're building this network which will connect together many different worlds, including X worlds, including Yuga Labs' other side, and I know Nicole is here later today as well. And our vision is to go further, right? It's to build this ecosystem. And I think what you guys are doing here is going to be such a vital component in making that happen.
I had already heard about Improbable. You was working with Yuga Labs. Can you also give a bit more detail about it?
Well, Nicole will be here later, who's the CEO, so she'll speak a bit herself. But yeah, we are the developer of Other Side. So we are creating all of the gameplay and technology that supports the world. We did an event earlier this year, First Trip, which was the largest number of people ever inside a single experience for now. I know we're planning to do a little bit more in the next few weeks. And it's been an incredible experience. You know, we've been able to bring the community together in one environment. It was incredible to see their reactions, their emotions, to have actors and other people there. We're now beginning to work even beyond that with sports leagues and fashion brands. You know, I think a lot of quite poor quality metaverse projects over the years have led to a very skeptical outlook from consumers. So for us, it's just about the experience. How do we build something stunning? You know, we've now solved rendering at scale. We've solved bandwidth compression issues. And I think the partnership we're now striking with Multiverse really excites me, because bringing together our expertise in building complex worlds with the incredible technical expertise in blockchain and Web3 that this community represents, that's fire.
Fire.
And I'll just finish by saying, man, we met because one of our partners is Andreessen Horowitz. We met every crypto blockchain company, and 15 minutes with the formerly Elrond and now Multiverse team, I was like, shit, these people know what they're talking about, you know? There's so much bullshit, you know, people raising hundreds of millions of dollars to promise a proof-of-stake blockchain 15 years from now. And these guys did it, you know, years ago. And it's very easy to see where the real capability lies.
Thank you. We can stop this conversation right there.
That was your last announcement yesterday, X Worlds. How did you get this idea of collaboration together?
The curious and fascinating part is that we've been working on the path and what would be needed to unlock this type of breakthrough, this type of different value experience and so forth for the metaverse. We've been in discussion with all the relevant metaverse companies almost in the world, and it's basically the flip side story. After going and having all the conversations and so forth, right at the end, we discovered this curious company called Improbable. And each thing we've discovered after that was even more surprising because it looked like someone was copying or has been spying on whatever we were writing and preparing and so forth. Then we started the conversation, and the conversation was, of course, crazy, like a conversation that starts, then 5 hours time stops, really deep dive and so forth, and then the next day, and so forth, and that one step led to another, and then we saw that there's, as Herman said, an incredible opportunity here to unlock for the people, but it requires several different components. It definitely requires a component where someone understands rendering, understands multiplayer environments, understands a lot of aspects that are not obvious if you've not created games for a very long time. And then at the same time, this is not enough. If you do not pair this with a blockchain that can really scale, with a super app that can enable anyone from wherever they may be in the world to join, and then with some worlds which are, on the one hand, very, let's say, philosophically fascinating for the different communities, but then also simple worlds that are just stunning or incredibly beautiful, where people can interact, connect, and so forth. So this has been a long conversation, but as we've progressed, it was very scary a bit to discover how close the visions were and then how they were converging to the same point.
From the new name of Facebook, a lot of people are starting to talk about Metaverse. But for me, we have two technical...
The wrong version, maybe?
Oh,
a wrong version.
We'll come to that.
That's why. Yeah.
No. You can't even...
And that's why you took the time tomorrow to take your definition of the metaverse, because I think if we are asking 10 or 20 people in this room the definition of the metaverse, we will not have the same definition.
Look, I took the trouble of getting Benjamin's permission to give all of you a copy of a book, which we literally wrote to answer this question. So hopefully you'll all get a copy. But I think if you, and we aligned on this very well, if you think of the metaverse as just an extension of the internet, or just an opportunity to screw around in virtual worlds and games, you completely miss the value proposition, right? That's not what it is at all, you know. For me, and I think Benjamin and me aligned on this, this was one of the first things we aligned on. For us, the metaverse is a network of value, a network connecting different socially constructed realities together. And what matters in that network are that the events, identities, the things that happen in that world have meaning, because they don't only exist in one context. They can move from one context to another. And the other crucial ingredient is that the experiences enabled by the metaverse have to be differentiated. They have to provide fulfillment for people, even if they didn't know that crypto was involved or new technology was involved. And so I think we've both talked about this, but you know, whether it is opportunities for massive gatherings in sport and in music, whether it's governments being able to engage differently with their populations, whether it's people who are creatives getting the chance to actually earn income and value in ways they never could otherwise, those are the things you have to enable. Those are the things you have to make possible. And to make that a reality, you need all the ingredients Benjamin is talking about. You know, you can't just do one piece or another. So to bring it back a little bit to Facebook, they have none of those ingredients. You know, it isn't even just a case of spending $10 billion a year. If you're spending it on the wrong damn thing, you know, they're going to be like the Yahoo of the metaverse. You know, we're going to hear about them, and then they're going to be, you know, we don't talk about them again. That's the truth. That's the reality.
But, and
you know, and I know their office is like across the street, but you know,
maybe,
so please don't go tell them that. But
yeah, don't quote him on this one.
No, although I've said it publicly like 9 times, so you know.
But what I would say is there's almost 2 points that you could look at this from. And one of the points is that the very essence of the idea is not only recognizing what we have in this physical world, the universe, but then finding a way to recognizing what we have in this new world or potential network of worlds, and then defining or finding a word that creates this space for both worlds to evolve to their maximum potential.
Exactly.
This is what Multiverse X means. And it's multiverse to the power of X. So it's almost like it embedded in the concept is the idea of taking both worlds to their maximum potential and then still harmonizing them, still permitting worlds, both of them, to influence the other. This is one way of looking at it, and then maybe a much crazier way that we'll definitely discuss about in the next months.
I have thousands questions.
Is just this idea of trying to capture what it would mean to have the ultimate type of experience, meaning, fulfillment, learning, and all of that in one word, and how we could create that. And that's sort of the idea of the eternal city. So I was not planning to give this type of idea right now, but just
Spilling all the secrets now.
the idea of creating an eternal city to push the boundaries of what we've built, what we've experimented with, both in, let's say, learning, entertainment, meaning, fulfillment, and so forth, is probably one of the most fascinating ideas, because it's not only like building a new city where you do have to have the architecture, urbanism, and so forth, but here you need to also think about the deepest questions. What does actually mean to be human? What does it mean to interact with fellow human beings, with friends, and so forth? How can we build something that we've only dreamed about, and some people have dreamt about thousands of years before, and then now, for the first time, we can take this to a point where this has never been done before.
And one of the things I most admire about our collaboration and this community is the recognition and the lack of hubris in understanding that it can't be done alone. You know, you all have phones in your pockets, and you think of those microchips, and what we don't all realize is Carl Zeiss in Germany makes the optics. You know, ASML makes the machines. TSMC does the fabrication. Then they get designed by ARM, and then they get produced. And these 4 or 5 companies, they work together in this deeply collaborative way to unlock this modern miracle. And the hubris of a company like Facebook or anybody else in thinking that one business, one community, one piece is enough is completely wrong. You know, without the ability to have incredible experiences, nobody will come. But without the ability for those experiences to be connected to a system of value, to a great underlying chain, to a great ability to move value from one place to the other, you can't build businesses. So all those pieces are so important.
The strongest point that fundamentally amplifies the value of everything we've discussed is when this becomes an interoperable, open network.
Exactly. And
with this, this becomes unstoppable. Not improbable, but unstoppable.
and this is, you know, just to finish on that, I don't know, the bravery of you, and I know Yuga Labs is coming later, but the bravery of companies that would normally think of themselves as competitors to say, actually, how do we share value? How do we create something bigger than ourselves? That is what big tech is never going to do. They only think in terms of acquisition and ownership, and that is not how Web3 works. That is not how value is created.
100%.
I'm okay with the possibilities. And I think we can do a lot of things. Because, yes, every solution, every tool will amplify what we can do with this technology. But you will have to start by a concrete and simple use case. Do you have already in mind some simple, concrete use case that respond to an actual needs? And you will start by this point of view, because with X money, fiat and cryptocurrency, with Metaverse interaction, why not VR in the future? Do you have already, with some of these tools, some things that you want to propose, and if you want to make a small leak, you can too.
You want me to throw one in?
Yeah, sure.
For an example, I'll give you a very concrete example, which nobody ever does in this space that we've talked about. Now, suppose you're a fan of Manchester United, you live in Southeast Asia, right? You never get to come to a game. You never get to really buy merchandise beyond basic
You should
things.
choose a team from France.
Okay. PSG. I love PSG. PSG has a huge fan base. I went to a game recently, and it was like watching the A team beat the B team. It was pretty sad, to be honest. But, you take PSG. They have an international fan base of how many people? Hundreds of millions, right? How much revenue do they make per person? Not much, because only so many people can buy tickets and come to the match. Only so many people can meet the top players. Now, imagine using the X app. You can be sitting in India or in Southeast Asia on a 3G connection with our collaboration with Improbable.
I'm not sure if you've intentionally alluded to Elon Musk's app or our
Your
X
app.
portal.
Your app. His app is still TBD, right? It's coming soon after the self-driving cars. But the point is, the app we're talking about here with Portal. Now imagine you could click a link or a button on that app, instantly jump into a crowd of tens of thousands of people speaking with their own voices, which we can do, right? All loving the game, meeting players, interacting together, being able to make micropayments easily, being able to earn money, remove money out. Maybe you're a moderator inside that experience. We know that that will be transformative for these industries because we're working with them now and they're already talking about where that value can go. And the pieces you need to do that are you need the experience, which our collaboration is building. You need the infrastructure to bring value in and out, which I think Elrond is the Multiverse X is the absolutely best platform to do that in. And then you're able to create real value. And this isn't something that we're speculating on. Customers and companies are coming to us right now asking for these things.
And what I will add is that the entire conversation of what will unfold in what we are doing is that we're taking this idea and making it a reality today.
Now.
Not in 10 years, not when VR will be ready, not when AR will be ready, which is cool. Like, these technologies will be extremely valuable at some point. When they're ready, even with them, we'll want to integrate, interoperate, if they want to abide by some clear open principles that will be available. But the key question is, indeed, thinking for 1 second that you could access from anywhere in the world, a type of experience that would be just simple learning differently with super important or relevant people. Imagine that you could attend, for instance, a lecture by a Nobel laureate, and you can interact there. He's in that place with you. You can see something. You can learn something in a completely new way. Now, the fact that on top of the interaction, whether it's with friends, whether it's with people in a classroom, whether it's for businesses, the fact that you can do that and on top of that have payments or other sophisticated interactions as a rail embedded in it, that's absolutely incredible.
And you want to propose more than an experience. You want to propose a tool for the community to build this kind of experience, right?
Exactly, right? I mean, and I don't know how much, you stop me if we reveal too much here, right? So you cut
No, let's go.
but
People will definitely discover a lot more today than they should have.
Well, you stop me, but it's important to talk about the gulf in capability between our collaboration and everybody else. So I want to come back to that number again, right? The best experience you can commercially buy today handles only 10,000 messages on the back end. This is the most important metric.
That's why you want 10,000 people at the same time connected.
No, if you want 10,000 people, you need 1 billion messages a second on the back end, right?
Okay.
Which we're able to do.
Changes the
Not the same
conversation a
challenge,
bit.
right?
We're able to do. And if you want those 10,000 people to all buy something or interact with permanent, persistent data at the same time, you're not going to achieve that on some shitty blockchain that does like five transactions a second. Okay. You may as well mail in your order, dial up the phone, and do it, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to work. It's not going to work. And better yet, this is the point. There are talkers and there are builders, and the talkers get all the attention, and the builders build, right? And so the practical problems in realizing these experiences, and we've been doing this now for years, and we're going to do more together. You heard yesterday on the trailer what you're going to see on the 10th. You're going to get to actually experience this, right? But each piece, each subtle piece has to be solved in order to build something of actual value. And that's what I think this collaboration is really going to unlock.
As we've touched on this, the entire point was that we could essentially each build different paths that at some point would converge and would work to some extent. But the key point is that the opportunity for a collaboration is so large when you have multiple breakthroughs, not only the social interaction, massive multiplayer interaction, but then the simplicity of an app that can enable that.
Everything.
And then the blockchain underpinning, the fabric underpinning this entire experience. This essentially enables us for the first time to come to a simple or clear use case where I could say that everything that we're doing with education can be completely rethought, from like opening a website on the internet.
Education is the target for you? Education is the main word, right?
Education is one thing that we'll definitely begin with, but what I'm saying is, compared to even the best versions that we've had on the internet, when you can create an experience with presence, not immersiveness. You could also touch on immersiveness later, but with presence.
That will be my next question. You want in the near future to propose something with more virtuality?
Yeah, so to be really clear on this technically, we actually can do VR now. One of the biggest VR games in the world launched based on our old tech. The technology required to support very realistic interactions in VR has a lot of similarities to the technical problems you need to solve in supporting very dense virtual environments. Nobody wants it. You know, what customers want right now is mass accessibility. If Macron is going to do a talk in the Metaverse, he doesn't need only to talk to people in VR headsets, you know. He wants to talk to everybody on their phones, wherever they are.
And the problem with that is that there are 5 people with headsets.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's the entire market. It's not like we would not love to use the headset today.
Yeah.
It's awesome to use the headset, but bring some more people in. This is why X-Portal is critical to the entire discussion, because just as with the internet, if you have a network, but only the smartest people in the world, like 5 people, the army, the universities, and so forth, can use that network, you won't have a market. With the browser, something else emerged. This is what X-Portal should do for the metaverse, in a way that everything we're building, every experience has 1,000 times more value once you can onboard the people and offer them these opportunities.
There's an interesting, I think, dovetail angle on that, which is one of the things I've been most impressed by in our conversations is most blockchain providers that I've spoken to, they are desperately embedded with the delusion that the average consumer cares about crypto. They want to expose the dynamics of the blockchain to the underlying consumer. They want them to care if they're on this chain or that chain. And I think one of the most powerful things about the app, about thinking at a higher level, about focusing on the user experience, is we recognize that the chain is a tool, right? And that the average person, the football fan or the person jumping into that world, they just want a great experience. And I think having a portal, having a browser, I mean, it's almost like asking consumers to, like, you know, use Telnet to, you know, do websites. Right?
There was a time for that.
There was a time, right? You know, and I think there's a lot of hubris in the crypto space, and that hubris is going away. And relationships like this one make sense. I also encourage, if you guys are wanting to talk more about VR, I know later today we have, of course, Phil, who started Second Life. Very interesting views on VR and on its applicability and lack of applicability to a lot of these things.
10 December. It is a scalability test. It is a glimpse of what you're able to technically push. That looks like that. million transaction for 10,000 people. Benjamin, can you push 1 million transaction on it?
The key point here is this. So we want to emphasize 2 points here. One, that the frontier of what can be built and what this idea means is absolutely extraordinary.
It is a publical, technical test.
But the first steps need to be very anchored in reality. You cannot jump in the eternal city tomorrow, right? Rome cannot be built from one day to another. You want to make progress, and then this is why it's called a first glimpse. You get to experience, you get to warm up, you get to share feedback, you get some ideas.
Anyway, you
but it's
can't
a
do
first
it
step.
in intern because you need 10,000 people.
Yes.
Well, hopefully you guys can bring some friends, right? We need, you know, but I think it's more than a test because it's an experience. And I think what it should do for all of you, if you're part of it, is it'll give you a very, very important experience that we've had that's been transformative for us. When you feel what it's like to be in a crowd, a large crowd, and we hope we can, you know, hit 10,000 or more if you guys attend, it's magical. You know, you're in a group of people who are present, who are all there. And all of this talk of the metaverse being about a Zoom meeting with 4 people, I mean, come on, like, who the hell needs that, right? That's not magical. That's not wondrous. You know, I think if I had, you know, one criticism for some of the other stuff happening, it's just boring. And I know we're going to have Nicole here later from Yuga. The possibilities also when you go beyond one experience, the connecting them together, is so exciting. And, you know, something that takes a very forward-looking mindset to achieve, which I'm really happy to be collaborating with you guys because you guys have it.
In your target, in this first glimpse, users will be able to communicate or only just be connected 10,000 at the same time?
100% communicate.
You can also...
Really?
Yeah.
We built...
We should not give too much because...
We shouldn't give too much, but there's some stuff that's already public. You know, this is not a smoke and mirrors test. This is a system handling billions of messages a second. You'll be able to speak, you'll be able to talk. I'm not going to tell you anything else you'll be able to do. But those 2 things we can say. Don't swear, though, because we'll kick you out. We have an automated... No, it's fine.
And one last point that maybe I'll make to all the conversations that I think the Minister of Romania was very, very crisply pointing out, is that with all this power comes great responsibility. Making sure that there is something that looks simple, but it's so fundamental and changes the entire conversation, such as direct and full ownership embedded in it. That there is this type of freedom embedded in the creation of a new world means that there's a distinct direction where you can create communism, a world for communism, and this would be metaverses that do not have blockchain embedded in it, and then a world where you really have what we've discovered to be extraordinarily useful, and then can now encode in a digital form and put it at the base of such a world. So having this type of responsibility toward what we are trying to create is fundamental and will immediately, as this becomes available, change the perspective of what it would mean, just as the first country having freedom, a declaration of independence and so forth, changed the perspective of what communism meant and why it could not work. Because once you have a benchmark of something that can take off, then you're starting to wonder, why are we doing this other thing? Because it doesn't work, obviously.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Technically, and I'm talking about blockchain point of view, actually the Multiverse X network, the capacities of the network is already operational for this experience, or you will need more shard, you will need to deploy new things for that?
This is the beauty of Elrond and now Multiverse X, that we've built a network that is dynamically adaptive.
Yeah.
Now, this part is very little understood. Most people that have built blockchains that they say are sharded have one shard. They've never solved the problem of sharding.
How many, for 10,000 people and for this million transaction, how many new shards you will have to open?
The really good
We'll see.
The really good thing also is...
But this is a nice problem to have, right?
Yeah, yes.
This is the steps that are adding value to the conversation. And when something like this appears, again, it contrasts everything that exists out there, where you, for instance, see that 5 transactions, 7 transactions, 15 transactions, or even 100. They will not solve nothing for you to be able to build on.
But what's also quite fascinating about this collaboration is the pragmatism of understanding what information should be on blockchain and what information should be on caches and other kinds of services. Like, there are too many maximalists who want to use a tool for a purpose it wasn't intended.
One and only one tool.
Exactly. For everything, which doesn't make sense. And so one of the things that we are heavily leaning on the expertise of the Multiverse X team on is actually the close collaboration as we build out the network of metaverses on how to think about what problems are best put on a blockchain, what problems are best put on other kinds of services, what problems should be concealed from the customer and made easy using the app. So this kind of approach, like, pragmatism beats idealism in this space. And there are just too many companies that are maximalist on one thing or another thing. I also really admire the fact, I think in our conversations, despite being so focused on building the best chain you can, there's also recognition that there are multiple chains out there. Interoperability between them is important. Operating in a way that allows for people to have a pragmatic answer is important. And that's why we chose to work together.
The key point that sort of recenters the gravity of the conversation on what matters is how can we onboard the next billion people? Like, I at the end of the day, incidentally care about building the blockchain, building the app, building the worlds, and so forth, because this enables us to make that breakthrough. If we have that wave, then everyone will be able to build cooler applications, better opportunities being accessible, and so forth. If we have 1 million users, 1,000 users, as there are with VR and so forth, that's not an opportunity you can work with. So this is why it's not as much about what we're building, because what we're building is awesome, and we're putting our lives in this. This is extremely important, but it's important because it unlocks this opportunity. And this is why it will always be a guiding principle for us to look much broader. We've solved this problem. Now, what's really needed? Why is it not happening? This is why the portal is needed. This is why the worlds are needed. This is why a collaboration like this sets a different kind of premise for the vision to unfold.
And there's pragmatism also to the way in which we think about the community and the network. Like, we're not building this in a way that's adversarial with other projects. You're going to hear today from from Yuga and from the scale of what they're doing, and everything is interoperable. X worlds, you'll be able to take assets, bring users, take users in. That creates a much more compelling opportunity for investment into the network for everybody. And I also am really encouraged.
I think this thing, people have not yet at all internalized.
Yeah, it's like so powerful.
What interoperability means when you have other extremely fascinating potential partners.
Yeah.
That's
Because when we are talking about interoperability in the blockchain field, is basically communicating between different blockchain.
No. Yeah. We're talking even bigger than that. We're talking interoperability of experience. So you can take your avatar from an X world.
Yeah.
You click a button, and you can move to another X world.
Yeah.
Or you could move into, say, Paris Saint-Germain's metaverse, and you bring your avatar with you. We have this working now.
Just the fact to have the same balance in the real life.
Exactly.
That you can spend your money, but also have this same balance in another video game, another experience. And that's why I really think we can bring, the goal is not to propose one experience with few tools, but it's to propose a sandbox with the different ingredients that every people will be able to create its own world with its own experience and take some tools, some bricks of payment, communication, interaction.
You get it, but it's also about maximizing the value of every asset sold in every X world. If you buy a piece,
stop sharing all the information.
Oh, I won't say too much. I won't say too much. If you get involved with X worlds in whatever way that might be, without revealing, and you stop me if I go too far. I'm here to leak. That's my job. If you believe and commit then you don't only have to believe and commit in the delivery of one developer or one partnership. You are supported by every partnership, by every developer, right? And this concept of a union is very new in this space. And it's something that I think embracing is going to make this community even more valuable. The clapping, so that's something, you know.
What can I say?
You guys really like this guy. Shit, he's convinced me too. Damn, like, you know.
That's the end. We have no more time. Thank you. Thanks for all of this answer. And see you later. And we are waiting you at the 10th December, right?
Thank you, guys.
Cheers.